Reddit, what are some good internet rabbit holes to fall into during this time of quarantine? I've been down a rabbit hole to make sourdough bread. I'm fascinated now. I didn't realize how the process works. I found some lady who's been using the same starter since the 1970s, and she got hers from a woman who used hers for the last 100 years. The Boyle clan mother dough. Tang for days, that's Tangtown. Making my first starter today. Every time I handle it from here on out I will say welcome to Tangtown. Thank you. Here's a list of a couple hundred small homestead skills to build. Make a mallet with a branch and a hatchet. A bit of sewing. Make an adobe brick with mud from the backyard. Sharpen knives and tools. Dry some food. Good one. I'm going to go though that and see what I can do. Useful for after the quarantine too. The Rotten Library. Rotten.com/library has an archive of essentially a pre-Wikipedia with handwritten articles on weird stuff, cults, murders, etc. It's cross-linked so it's easy to get lost. It's a relic of when the web was just scattered information with no real way to find it. The Rotten Library was my teenage introduction to so many oddities that today get reposted on Reddit every few months. Same, I spent so many hours on Rotten.com in my teens. My mom and I were obsessed with it. Opened my mind to a world of stuff. I would have been banned from the computer if either of my parents knew I was on Rotten. Especially since I thought the fuck of the month submissions were so interesting at like 12 years old. I thought reading about the Death Valley Germans was super interesting and took a good few hours to read and do my own research. Edit, if it's asking for a login/password, that means the site is overwhelmed. I know it's frustrating but I didn't realize it would get this much traffic. Try again in an hour or two and it should be fine. Cannot recommend this one enough. I'd never heard of them until Reddit. A harrowing tale of how smart sensible folks find themselves out of their depth but only after the point of no return. How easy it is to go missing. Yes, this is an absolutely fascinating rabbit hole. Starting with a Reddit break in the restroom, I continued reading and reading for hours about them. Fascinating study, and the guy who broke the case has a great in-depth, easy to read write-up of it that is linked in the top comment. Highly recommend. Also related is the case of Geraldine Largy, who stepped off the Appalachian Trail to go to the bathroom, got lost and was never found alive. I recommend the book When You Find My Body, The Disappearance of Geraldine Largy on the Appalachian Trail, which details the story as well as the fantastic search and rescue efforts that were made. There's a 52-page preview available on Google if you want to check it out first. The family that couldn't sleep. I believe even the Vatican are involved in housing them and trying to come up with a cure. For 200 years a noble Venetian family has suffered from an inherited disease that strikes their members in middle age, stealing their sleep, eating holes in their brains, and ending their lives in a matter of months. In Papua New Guinea, a primitive tribe is nearly obliterated by a sickness whose chief symptom is uncontrollable laughter. Laughing death or laughing sickness in Papua New Guinea is called Kuru disease. It's a disease caused from eating human remains, particularly the brain. Something to do with a protein which broke down nervous tissue after being eaten. Prions are scary as shit. They can survive extreme temperatures, pressures, acids and strong bases like nothing. The recommended method of destroying them is putting them under intense pressure, heat and exposing them to very strong acids and detergents all at the same time for multiple cycles. This is obviously not possible in the human body, so there are no effective treatments. They can remain infectious for years outside of a host and not even ionizing radiation affects them. Enough is enough. I've had it with these motherfucking pathogens on this motherfucking planet. TV tropes. You'll suddenly start to refer scenes in movies as wow what a tearjerker and your whole family will hate you. But God, is that website so fun to lurk. It's a terrible website. I hate it that I love it. Seriously, as rabbit holes go this is one of the best. I didn't know what it was until Minecraft's splash text said something like less addictive than TV tropes. I think they removed that splash, but for thousands. It was too late. Poor Minecraft, think of all the players they lost who thought TV tropes? What's that? Let's look it up. If you're into music, there are a ton of great channels on YouTube. Rick Beato does a lot of music and song analyses. Alex Ball has done some documentaries about Roland and the Prophet synthesizers. All really interesting history and information. True Cuckoo is a dude who has a ton of videos about synthesizers, drum machines, and jams. Not to mention tutorials. There's so much that you can learn. I started with guitar and recently I got into synths and drum machines, and YouTube is a great place to get to learn from plenty of talented people. I missed a ton, but I guess you can do the exploring yourself. Take a look at Adam Neely if you're into music theory stuff. That channel blew my mind when I discovered it. Every time I watch one of his videos I feel like I'm learning something new, even though I don't understand half of what he's saying, haha. On YouTube, I have been viewing this channel named Horror Stories. It's a collection of short but brief real-life horror stories of people who died in the most horrible, unimaginable, and unsuspecting way. No clickbaits, on-point storytelling. Mr. Nightmare is also pretty good at real-life scary stories. He has a great voice for telling scary stories and makes good use of stock images and stock video to create atmospheric visuals. Mr. Nightmare is my favorite, but if you liked it then you might enjoy Corpse Husband. The stories aren't the same but they are true horror stories and most are stock images and such, but sometimes he does animated videos which are really good because the animation is dark and creepy, which is perfect for the stories. I'm gonna throw Rob Gavigan into the mix too. Less so true horror stories and more true crime/listing scary stuff, but he has a really soothing voice and good stage presence. Also, my partner met him at an event a few years back, so I can vouch for the added bonus that he's a super nice dude. So go to Wikipedia and pick a country and look at a history of their leaders. Can be interesting to see a list of them and the politics behind it, especially African countries cause they're wild how often they switch and for why. In English class I had a project on the War of the Roses. Then we read A Man for All Seasons. So I've been frequently visiting the list of English monarchs Wikipedia page. Wolf Hall. If you haven't read it, do so. I had a similar project and it's wild how different opinions of More and Cromwell are. If you liked that you'll love Wolf Hall. The Starks and the Lannisters were based on the Yorks and the Lancasters. My saved posts on Reddit, take the time to go back through them and act in some way that reflects why you saved the post in the first place. It's fact time. Maybe you can find out what's on the second page of Google. There's a second page? It's known as the dark web. That's where the hacker 4chan resides. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you have a similar story, share it in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe for more. Have a great day, or night.